Today's video is sponsored by Hit Point Press and the new Shift RPG system. Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here. Today we are talking about the Wicked Witch Sorceress Origin from MCDM's Arcadia number 8.
Yes.
Whew, that's a word.
Scary lady.
So if you're new to the channel or to the series, what we're going to do is go through all the abilities gained in the subclass. We're going to rate the roleplay, combat, and synergy based on how the abilities gained in the subclass improve on the base class abilities.
Yes.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to be entered in our D&D Beyond bundle giveaway.
Because free stuff is wonderful.
All that being said, let's get right into it.
We're going to start off with grabbing some gifts. And we have a wonderful list of spells. Each of these spells counts as sorcerer spells for you, but doesn't count against a number of spells you know, which we all know is the number one problem that sorcerers face. Whenever you gain a sorcerer level, you can replace one spell you gain from this feature with another spell of the same level, so you can get different spells than what's on the spell list. But the spell must be an enchantment or an illusion spell from the sorcerer, warlock, or wizard spell list. So there are some restrictions, but still some flexibility in there besides just, here's your spells done. In addition, your ancestors offer you certain resistances that you can pass on to others. When you finish a long rest, you can choose yourself or a creature within 30 feet of you that you can see. The target has advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened until the end of your next long rest or until you die.
There you go.
Oh, and those spells, very quickly. Bane, Hideous Laughter, Animal Messenger, Mirror Image, Fear, Hypnotic Pattern, Confusion, Greater Invisibility, Dream, and Mislead.
Also at level 1, we have Hag Ancestor. Choose your ancestor's kind or determine it randomly from the table below, which we'll put on screen.
Yes.
Magic specialty associated with each hag is used by features you gain later. You can speak, read, and write the language of your ancestor and gain a bonus proficiency determined by the kind. Additionally, you have advantage on charisma checks made to influence hags. So with the ancestor kinds, we have Green, which is Illusion, with Sylvan and Deception. Or you have Night, which is Enchantment, and Abyssal with Insight. Or you have the Sea, which is Transmutation, with Aquan and Intimidation.
Next up at level 6 is Clever Little Witch. When a creature targets you or an ally within 15 feet of you with a spell of first level or higher, that targets only one creature and requires an attack roll or forces the target to make a saving throw, you can use your reaction to immediately after the spell resolves and spend a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level to cast it back at the caster without expending material components. The spell uses your spell save DC and spell attack bonus, and if it is from your ancestor's specialty school, it costs half the number of sorcery points rounded down. So, very wordy way of saying if you or an ally within 15 feet is hit by a spell of first or higher, you can use your reaction to throw the same spell back at them by spending sorcery points to do so.
Sounds good to me.
Yes.
Level 14, we have Fly, my pretty.
Of course.
When you finish a long rest, you can touch a small or medium object of your choice, such as a broom, bedroll, or bagpipes, and enchant it to fly.
Wait.
You have to.
I forgot that it said bagpipes.
The enchanted item functions as normal until you or another creature stands astride it and uses an action. He's done.
Okay.
Uses an action or bonus action to speak its command word, chosen by you upon enchanting the object. It then hovers and can be ridden in the air. Using another action or bonus action to speak the command word again causes the item to stop hovering. While hovering, the item has a flying speed of 60 feet, can carry a small or medium creature, along with everything the creature is wearing or carrying. While the creature is flying on the item, it can't be charmed or frightened. If you enchant a new flying item, the previous one ceases to function.
Just flying bagpipes, man. Just the absolute fear you can instill in a general area. Flying bagpipes. Anyway.
Got him.
Finally, our capstone ability is Coven Calling. When you use the Clever Little Witch feature, you can cast any spell of first level or higher you saw the triggering creature cast in the last minute by spending sorcery points equal to the spell's level, or if it is from your ancestor's specialty school, half the number of sorcery points rounded down. Additionally, you can spend 2 sorcery points as an action to conjure 2 hag-like duplicates of yourself in your space. They function like the duplicates in the mirror image spell, but they can act on the same initiative count immediately after you. On its turn, a duplicate can only take 1 action to cast a spell you know, a first, second, or third level, with an instantaneous duration. You must spend sorcery points equal to the spell's level for the duplicate to cast it.
All right, so lots of shenanigans to be
You
had
can
with this
throw
one.
so much damage out so quickly.
So you'll be burning through them sorcery points.
You would be, but if you wanted to burn something down because the group's in trouble,
fire away.
fire when ready.
So those are all the abilities gained in the subclass. So let's just jump right into the rating portion. First is the roleplay asterisk, as always. Talking about roleplay, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside the initiative order. Not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background. That's on you as a player. Can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass, how they might improve your potential in those roleplay scenarios. So, first thing on here, obviously, free spells. Never going to be upset about some free spells. Lets you have a little bit more utility and options with taking RP spells if you aren't already going to be getting some from this. And of course, you can swap out these spells for other spells of the appropriate schools, enchantment, or illusions, which obviously will often fall into roleplay a lot of times for those. There's a little bit of extra bonus with the advantage on Charm and Fear, but that is more on the niche side of things a lot of times. Yeah. Those are some kind of saves that can fall into roleplay, but they're not typically happening too often.
Yeah.
So
especially the Fear. Like Charm can definitely happen with roleplay, but the Fear not as much.
Yeah, it's very rare that those kind of things can come up. So when they do come up, it's nice, but how often are they really going to come up? That's the question. You also get a free language and proficiency, which is nice.
Never a bad thing.
And then the super niche thing to get a bonus to influence hags. I mean, unless there's some major hag in your campaign, probably not going to come up.
If you up there in the Feywild doing phase and stuff, come on, some more often. But
that's true. Reaction to cast a spell back. There's some use in RP, but I think that's really going to lean a lot more in the combat side of things.
I think like Charm Person.
Yeah,
that's tries to charm you. You can turn them back.
Pretty much going to be. I mean,
hold person.
There's not a whole lot of stuff that's not going to
detect thoughts. Detect. It's got to be very.
They're all reading their own mind because
and
get crazy on there.
And you and the random NPC both fall unconscious immediately because you created a loop of detect thought.
Yeah, man. Wildness.
What an absolute loop that is. It's like, wait, am I thinking that, or is he thinking I'm thinking that, hearing me thinking that about him think that I'm thinking that?
D&D, guys.
That was painful.
Anyways, we also, creating a flying object, especially a bagpipe, definitely comes into some roleplay. Potential for sure. Just the movement speed is going to be helpful, and flying in general is always going to be helpful for exploration, for avoiding traps, things like that.
Yep.
Can definitely help. All that being said, there are some limitations with this kind of thing. So we went with a 3.5 out of 5 in the roleplay. Definitely some good stuff, but a little bit of it kind of falls more on the niche side of things. This is definitely not RP focused.
Yeah. Combat-wise, though, we get a lot of interesting options, and I think this leans very heavily into what a sorcerer is, of just a very potent caster. Initially it's not even much the straight up blaster caster until you get to that capstone. You can get really blaster caster toward the end of that with that capstone, but we'll get there in a minute. Free spells are always a good thing as a caster. I'm sorry, warlocks. It is what it is. But because either you're getting yourself some RP spells for free so you can feel free to pick all the combat spells, or if you're getting free combat spells, you can pick up some RP. Either way. Or even if you're getting combat spells you would pick anyway, great. That means you can pick whatever you want to fill in that extra hole. So those are always fantastic opportunities. Also giving yourself advantage on being saving throws against Frighten and Charm, especially Frighten would come up definitely more on the combat side of things. Charm sometimes does, but more rare, but still technically has help. Where things get really fun and interesting combat-wise is at 6, obviously, because you get spell replicate retaliation, which is a very difficult thing to say, as I struggle with it. But that's wonderful, because it's not just like, okay, you can spend sorcery points to counterspell, which is also good. But this is like, oh, you throw a spell at me, I throw a spell at you. Huzzah! What absolute
Wizard duel.
Exactly. I said no, purple dragons. Oh, there's an obscure quote Impress me, people. That's, again, always a great thing because you don't necessarily have to know it to trigger this. It allows you to cast some stuff that you wouldn't have access to. But if it happens to be of your speciality, you can do it very effectively and very efficiently. Obviously, once you can fly, that's wonderful because, don't know if you know this or not, but since you are a sorcerer, you are the definition of glass cannon made of wet paper and don't need to look at the same way twice before you will be injured very badly. So having flying built in lets you be in the skies running around and dropping fireballs and whatever else onto stuff to staying out of trouble for the most part, or at least helping you stay out of trouble. And finally, with the capstone ability, letting you choose to replicate a spell, any spell that was cast in the last minute instead of just like what was immediately cast, is wonderful. Because that opens up the playbook dramatically for what you're able to do. And the back half of that, as I mentioned earlier, what I think it creates an opportunity to use, it's a defensive, which is primarily what Mirror Image is designed to do, which is great because you're made of paper. But I personally love what it allows you to be able to do, if you want to throw so many spells at people so very quickly. The point is that it still allows them to do things, smaller stuff, and you can be there. It's going to cost you a lot of sorcery points, so you're aware of that. So you can eat through your sorcery points very quickly, but the option is
something up.
But the option is there. I mean, if you wanted to fire off, all guns blazing immediately, you would be hard pressed to find something that can do more damage quickly. All of that in there. We went with a 4 out of a possible 5. Part of it is that you got to get to 6 before the real good potency of combat really kicks in, besides the free spell list, which is mostly RP, but it lets you pick more combat stuff, like I said.
Yeah. And then 18.
And then 18, sweet mercy.
Yeah.
But that, again, gives you the option to be able to do.
Right. And I think one thing, too, to keep in mind is when you're level 18, 19, 20, a lot of characters are just bonkers at that point anyways. So like being able to cast extra first, second, or third level spells with instantaneous, of course, duration is great for sure, but barring what kind of craziness you can do at those levels, with 9th level spells and stuff, is like, okay, I'll take it.
We have Meteor Swarm, we have Time Stop, we have
there are shenanigans to be had.
People overlook because Foresight is not exciting, but dadgummit, is it a bonkers spell to actually cast?
Yeah.
There's like, Meteor Swarm. I was like, yes, I get your need for wanton destruction. I totally understand that. But
have you heard of this other spell? But all that being said, going on to the synergy side, I mean, yes, you do get some great sorcery point spenders. The only thing is there's maybe a little too much. There's multiple ways you can burn through spell slots so quickly, especially and sorcery points as well.
Yeah.
I say spell slots and sorcery points because you can turn spell slots into sorcery points, so you can get more if you're in a pinch. But you will be burning through those. You could burn through them. You could burn through all of your sorcery points
very quickly
in the first few rounds of combat.
Yeah,
potentially.
Oh yeah, you totally can.
In just one combat, so you could completely nuke something to the ground. Then you're kind of on the sidelines until you get a chance to get those sorcery points back.
Yes.
So something to keep in mind. It is really interesting, like Alex said too. I mean, it takes a little bit of time to get going, up until you get 6. I mean, you're not doing a ton of stuff, really. I mean, just some extra RP stuff with the ancestors and the fear and charm.
Yep.
So it does take some time to get going, but then after you get past 6, it's like, okay, we're starting to move. But it takes, I mean, the flying is nice, but you kind of go from 6 to 18 to really get your strong abilities.
It's probably a good thing that capstone doesn't come on until later, because then you've actually got 18 sorcery points to play with at that point. So you actually can't just annihilate all of them immediately. Because if that was online at like level 6, you're like, okay.
You burn through all of them
in a turn. You're like,
first turn, okay. Because it does take 2 as well to initiate it.
Yeah.
So you take 2, and then say you cast 2 third level spells. That's 8 sorcery points
in one round. And assuming you didn't use one. Well, yes, you did use one. You're making yours the 2 on your turn to bring the copies up there.
Right. So you could. I mean, You only got 18 total outside of burning spell slots.
And you dropped nearly half of them on the initial turn, potentially. But again, it also allows you to throw out,
right, it's a big burst.
Two fireballs and defensive clones.
Right. So it is really interesting. The extra free spells, of course, you're never going to be upset about knowing more spells. It gives you more options, especially with your meta magics and things like that. It's always nice to have extra synergy with those. So we went with a 4 as well in synergy.
Yes.
Some solid options. Just maybe a little bit too spendy. Like it might be too tempting to just burn all your spell slots and sorcery
You
points.
have very potent choices for your sorcery points. But because of that, it will be very tempting to use them early and often.
Yes, and then you'll just be sitting like a lame duck, just waiting.
I mean...
Turn into a warlock, just cast a
I was going to say, think about that. You're not a warlock, though, because you still have more than 2 spell slots.
Yeah, this is true. But yeah, that's going to be it for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know when all of our new videos are coming out. Make sure to check out our sponsors in the link down below. And as always, thanks for watching. Shift is a brand new RPG system in development that lets you play in any world you can imagine and allows players and GMs to create their own custom rules with ease. Every aspect of Shift is powered by traits with an associated Shift die. As characters use their traits to interact with the world around them, the traits die will change, shifting to better or worse dice as the narrative unfolds. Every die roll in Shift risks your dice shifting, which keeps the action exciting and dynamic. Check it out today at hitpointpress.com/shift.